The problem is, if Kyle is from Australia, what are the odds that that Australian crowd will boo Kyle Fletcher?
You wanted an apology? Maybe it's me that should apologize. I should have trusted you from the beginning. So what do you say, Will? What do you say, people? Let's restore that feeling you were looking for in Brisbane, Australia. Grand Slam! It's gonna be me and Will against the hometown boy, Kyle Fletcher, and Takeshita. Oh yeah, Takeshita. My little young boy, Takeshita and Fletcher, Osprey, Omega in Australia.
The odds are very low. And the main problem that I see, and again, they did at least a month's worth of work where you could have had several segments to build up to that particular announcement. They did that in one setting, and that lasted a good 14 minutes because, again, this is how they started out the show. So that segment ran 14 minutes and like 40 seconds. So you fitted at least how about this? You fitted 2 months of work in 14 minutes. Now, if that's what they want to do, fine. And it was hard hitting, it was fast, it was exciting, it was entertaining. But to have Kenny apologize like that and just erase everything that Osprey did to him, when you could have really, really took your time with it and took the fans on a good story to where you put them in a couple tag team matches, you have them looking at each other sideways like, Kenny, like, I don't trust you right now and you're going to have to prove yourself to me, and, have it to where, they don't fight each other, but they're forced to fight for each other. That's what I'm saying. Have it to where Osprey, like next week, they did the face-to-face this week. So next week it could have been where Osprey was pretty much in a bind where, let's say Kenny was doing a segment inside the ring, and Osprey, all of a sudden the Don Callis family jumps him backstage. And next thing you know, the camera pans to backstage. And Osprey's getting his tail handed to him. And then the fans are reacting because they're like, okay, Kenny, they're screaming for Kenny to go and save him. And next thing you know, Kenny goes to try to make the save, but Kenny gets distracted. I mean, it's so many different areas, so many different ways that you can go that can get them to what happened on last night with long-term storytelling. It's so many different ways. But again, I still love what they did. I'm excited for the match. I'm going to watch the match. But I may have went with it a different way. But again, that ain't my company. So, hey, the Golden Boys are back together. And let's see what happens. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to, either they're going to just automatically start working together. Are they going to, because they already whooped. Now, here's the problem. It was 4 against 2. It was Takeshita. If I'm jacking this man's name up, forgive me. It was Byran Cage. It was the Murder Hawk Monster. And it was Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher is just as good as Will and Kenny. They built this boy up very well. Very well. Took his time. I mean, really built him up. He ends up beating Will Osprey in one of their big, huge pay-per-views. I mean, they have established him as a legit threat, which is great. It's good to see somebody else being able to climb to that main event level in AEW outside of the ones that we've been seeing now for the past couple of years. So they built him up. So again, Kenny and Will has already overcame 4 guys. 4 guys. It was 2 versus 4. So you're telling me that these 2 guys are better than your 4 that you have in a faction because it wasn't a match. Now, they could say, this wasn't official, this wasn't a match, but it's already implanted in my head that they already beat them. So if they already beat 4 of your best guys, and I'm a fan, now I'm a mature fan, and I kind of understand what's happening. I do. Now, the novice fan may not understand it, but I understand it. So I'm good with the rush. I don't have a problem with it because I'm going to watch either way it go. I love AEW. I'm going to watch either way it go. It is a different style of wrestling. It's a harder hitting style of wrestling. You can call it a car crash. You can call it, 0 to 1,000. I don't care. I'm going to watch it because I like wrestling. So anything that's different than the norm, I'm going to watch it all. So I don't care. But for the person that like that long-term storytelling, man, it's going to be hard to capture those people because you already planting in their head that these 2 is already better than their 4. So where do you go from here? That's the question. Where do you go from here to build up to that pay-per-view? Because again, these are 2 of your top guys. So it's not like we're not going to see them next week. Now, we may not see them on this episode of Collision. We may not see them then, but for the next week, Don Callis is going to have a response. And again, what could his response be? Because those 2 guys already beat my 4 guys. So even just from talking about it right now, I'm really baffled because I don't know where they would go. And that's a problem because, again, you already did 4 or 5 weeks of storytelling in 14 minutes. And again, it's not I don't have a shadow of a doubt that they are not going to put on a banger of a match. I know that for a fact. You put those 4 in the ring, those 4 main event guys, they going to have a heck of it may be one of the best tag team matches that we're going to witness in Australia in 2 weeks when they get it on. But the lead up to it, to keep me emotionally invested. Now, they could say, you know what? They could be like, well, you're already invested inside of the characters already, so it don't matter what we're going to do. You're going to watch regardless. Now, it could be the mindset because I like Osprey and I like all of them. I like the bad guys as well as the good guys. I watch it from a different lens, and I'm good with that. I understand some people watch it from the good guy, bad guy standpoint. I still get invested in that, but I watch it to see the story that they're going to tell when they get in the ring. I watch it from a different lens. I'm invested in that aspect of it, as well as being invested in the individual character of it. So, again, where do they go? Where do they go? It's like with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, what we were talking about. Eventually, I can see what is going to happen with them because eventually, and this is kind of different, but the story is going to lead to them facing off against the Young Bucks. I can see that because they are the standard when it comes to professional wrestling in that company, as well as FTR. But for these 2 to get there, what type of heat do the Don Callis family get outside of just whooping them and having the fans be upset because I whooped 2 of your top guys? And that could be just the direction that they're going to go in. I don't know. But they've already overcome your best. So since the only thing that's left to do is to have a match, the match is supposed to be the payoff. But we already got the payoff because they already whooped 4 of your guys. If I'm crazy, put it in the chat. Put it in the comment section and I'm off. I don't mind being off, but they already whooped 4 versus 2. Who's supposed to win when it's 4 versus 2? Who? Byran Cage, 275 pounds to like 305. Takeshita, 250 solid. The Murder Hawk Monster, 285 pounds. Kyle Fletcher, 250 solid, agile, hard-hitting, very athletic versus 220 Kenny and probably 205 Will Osprey. Then again, their skill level is of the caliber of probably all of them. But 4 versus 2, supposed to whoop 2 versus 2. Now, what they could have done, they could have had it to where the Don Callis family ends up whooping them and puts them to a table and pretty much says, you know what? There's no way in heck that y'all gonna beat us. Y'all can't come together and agree on nothing right now. Hey, you could have dropped Kenny, put him, and then whispered in Kenny's ear while Osprey is right beside him. Hey, remember what he did to you. Remember what he did to you. That's still the same guy. That's still the same Osprey. And now you plant a seed going into next week that the seed is already planted, so it gives me, the viewer, a reason to tune in to see, okay, how can these guys overcome their problems? And then you put it to where, again, either Kenny is getting whooped. Now, now, to their credit, Osprey has already saved Kenny before. We did see that last week, and Kenny rejected it, right? We did see that. We haven't seen Kenny come to Osprey's defense yet, and the question is, he really shouldn't. Now, let's back up. A couple weeks ago, now remember, Osprey asked Kenny to help him. Now, a couple weeks ago, Darby Allin went to Osprey and asked him for help against the Death Riders. Osprey did tell him, now look, I want to help, but I'm tied up over here. Now, it could be that Osprey said, okay, well, I know the Death Riders is a problem. Now, Osprey did give reference to Jon Moxley holding that AEW championship belt hostage. He did say that in that promo when he called Kenny out. He did say that. So that could be 2 different problems, 2 different, lenses that Osprey is operating from, because he really hasn't took care of the Don Callis family yet. So what I was getting ready to allude to is, how can you ask for help from Kenny but deny giving help to Darby? That's my mindset, because the last time we saw Darby was getting chunked down a flight of stairs at the hands of Jon Moxley. So that's the last time we saw Darby Allin. We ain't seen Darby Allin in probably about 2 weeks. So, but to his credit, the question is, why should Kenny trust him? Now, if we act like this never happened, why should Kenny trust him? Kenny don't have no reason to trust him right now. If anything, Kenny should be thinking about, how can I whoop this guy to prove that I'm better than him? Because it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to back it up in the ring. And like I said, the last time, as of right now, Osprey has a victory over Kenny Omega. He took that New Japan U.S. Championship belt away from Omega. Omega has not held a belt since he lost that New Japan United States Championship belt. He has not held a belt. And again, he's healthy, And it's good to have him back. But you got to prove yourself, bro. You know, you got to prove yourself that you have changed. Now, what he did say, and here's another question. Why did he apologize to Will? It should be Will going over and beyond trying to apologize to him. Because again, Will tried to end his career. and I love AEW, but I'm just saying, man, it's some stuff that make you go, that happens that I just like, man, I mean, you know, you could have did that later and said, okay, well, my ego got the best of me. I was tripping on our last encounter, and I put I allowed my emotions to get the best of me. Now, you could have said that. But again, that shouldn't have happened on January the 22nd at 8:22 on AEW TV. Not right now. Not right now. You do that. You do that later. You do that later. But anywho, so we have that match. I'm gonna get a T-shirt to say anywho. So we have that match scheduled for Australia. I don't believe that the fans are gonna boo Kyle Fletcher. I don't care if he is a bad guy. It's, you know, whenever one of their own come back home, they may have to end up doing a flip. It may be Kyle Fletcher, and it may not happen. I'm just throwing this out here. This is just me thinking. It may be that they end up doing a flip to where Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita end up working a babyface style and have Will and Kenny work a heel style, because that would fit a lot better going into that type of environment where Kyle is the hometown guy. I mean, he is, and he's going to get a hero's welcome because he's not the same guy competitor he was from a year ago. He has established himself as a main event talent. So, yeah, he's going to get a big hero's welcome. And that crowd, they're going to sell out without a shot. You know, it's one thing that AEW, you know, is working smaller venues right now, and their numbers are starting to climb back up, which is it's always good to see. But, man, it's another thing to go. When they put on a pay-per-view, that pay-per-view is going to sell out. It's the craziest thing. You can watch AEW TV and you see a decent crowd, but Lord, them AEW pay-per-views completely sold out. I don't know if you've ever been to an AEW show. I've been to one in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's nothing like going to a AEW show live. It's like part rock concert, part soccer match. Ruckus, loud, exciting crowd. Everyone's on their feet. Everyone is on their feet from the front row to the back. Those fans are rabid. So, I mean, the excitement is high, the energy level is high, and you can't help but get caught up in the moment. Now, from a live standpoint, that is great. From a TV standpoint, if you're not into that, it can be a turnoff. And I get that. I get the fans that like the storytelling. But man, it ain't nothing like that 100 miles an hour, 0 to 100, Canadian destroyers. I mean, you see stuff that happened over there that, I mean, my wife be like, oh my, is he okay? I mean, the line of safety with an AEW match is like right here. Right here. But that's what they do. And that's what they're accustomed to. And that's what got them to the dance. And let me say this. I was wondering to myself, I am big on nostalgia. I'm big on pop and circumstance. I'm big on, music. You got to have the right music. If you've been following AEW for a while now, I think we all can agree that Kenny Omega had one of the best entrances when it came to professional wrestling in general. I mean, Justin Roberts would just take his interest with the way that he would announce him and he would, bring him in and just take him to a completely different level. When he first came back, that music, I told my wife, I'm like, is he trying? I mean, we love Kenny, but are you trying to not have that same feel, that same excitement? Like, man, Kenny's coming to the ring. Like, Kenny's coming. Are you trying to not have that same, be that same person? Because when he came back, he did say that, talking about how, I'm different, I'm older. I may not be able to do some of the same things that I was able to do in the ring when he made his return back. Of course, he made his return back to the ring over in New Japan instead of having his first match in AEW, and couldn't tell he missed a beat. I mean, that was like a 6-star, 7-star match within itself. I don't believe the man know how to slow down. I don't. I mean, Kenny's going to be Kenny. Kenny's one of those guys, you better be in shape when you get in the ring with him because his style is going to blow you up no matter what. So that's just Kenny. But his interest when he came back was, I mean, the Tron was nice. The color combination was spot on. The music was horrible music. And I'm like, bro, go back to your old entrance music. So he held that old music for 2 weeks in a doggone row, and thank the Lord on last night. And I hope he's not going to separate his run-in music from his ring music when he wrestles. They went back. They kept the same new graphics, the same new Tron when he came back. They kept all that the same, but they went back to his Battle Cry theme song that got him to the dance, that we all fell in love with. So shout out to you. Thank the Lord that he brought that back.